Hi, I'm Ed McCullough, and this is Fresh Brewed. My special guests today are Dan Wood and Margie Backaus. After retiring from a 32-year career at Palmetto Electric, Dan was recently elected to Bluffton Town Council. So much for retirement. Later, we're joined by the always enjoyable Margie Backaus. Margie opened the Bluffton Room at the Promenade. It's an upscale restaurant in Old Town Bluffton. Hello, greetings, and welcome to Fresh Brewed. I'm Ed McCullough. Our guest is Dan Wood, Town Council member of the town of Bluffton, South Carolina, newly elected, relatively newly elected. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right before we came on camera, we were chatting. There has to be, it's not the money.
No, no,
So there has to be some other
Right.
motivating factor. There has to be something. You have to have a sense of mission. If I say mission, when you decided to run, what really got you going?
Well, a few things. First of all, I've always been a community servant, ingrained in the community for a long time as far as Rotary, and founder of the Arts and Seafood Festival. I've served on the Planning Commission, and I'm on the ATAX committee, and I'm on a board for the Historical Preservation Society.
Do you have a job?
I did. I just recently retired from Palmetto Electric in March, but Ed, I've just always believed in community service, and running for council is something I've wanted to do for years, and I had my opportunity to take it, and I did.
And you did take it after you did retire from Palmetto Electric, because you knew if you were going to do it the way it needed to be done, it's like is it more than a full-time job?
Well, no, it's not. My wife says I'll make it into a full-time job, and most people that know me would agree, but no, it's not that yet, but I know with the job that I had was more than 40 hours a week, and it was constant, and so no, it was a good thing that I did retire, so now I can be totally focused on what the citizens want, and that's my whole thing. I just want to do a good job for the town of Bluffton and the people of Bluffton.
So I'm curious, that was quite the impressive list. I mean, my goodness, the Arts and Seafood Festival, what that has grown into and the impact to Bluffton and the Rotary and all these different things that you're involved in. Do you have a sense on a personal bio where that came from, the way you were raised, your parents? Where did that come from? Why are you that guy? Do you know?
I can't answer that. I just, but I think part of the culture too, and the professional culture of Palmetto Electric was always one of service.
Sure it was.
Tom Upshaw, the past CEO, and Burl Davis, and it was just something that was ingrained in everyone there, and I've just always been a believer in it. I mean, I was a JC on Hilton Head years ago as a young man.
That must have been a long
time ago. Very long time ago.
All right, so how about issues, or how about a sense of mission on behalf of the town? Is there something that's a front and center top issue for you?
Well, the number one issue for me, and it was during the campaign, is people ask me, they say, what is going to be the greatest impact? Well, it's growth.
And managing the growth.
And managing growth. And growth, you have to have growth, or as a community, you just die, you fade away like a rose on a vine. So you have to have a certain amount of growth, but then again, if you're not careful, growth can get ahead of the community, and this is where we have to have a little foresight. I've said before, when that Jasper South Terminal Port comes, and I think they're saying now 8 to 10 years, it's going to be huge, and it's not going to just impact Jasper County, it's going to impact everything within
100 miles.
Within 100 miles.
And let's take it down even tighter. And when we look at preserving the nature of that which drew us here in the first place, I want to take it to Old Town. Mm-hmm. And let's go historic preservation, and let's look at how do we serve both masters, growth and preserving that which was here before the growth took place.
Well, first we have to step back, and this is something that I want all the new citizens of Bluffton to consider. We all move in from different areas, and so all we know is what it was like back home, not necessarily how it was here.
You mean how they did it up north?
How they did it up north, kind of like Hillhead.
Right.
But regardless, we're changing, and change is constant, and we have a younger generation here now. The average age is about 33. But what is paramount and what was most important to me was to preserve what we do have. We have the river, but oddly enough, we have the historic district, which I live in the Old Town Historic District. And recently we were having a conversation about balance. You have to preserve what's here, but without a restaurant or a bar or something like we have right here today, tourism, there's no tourism. You have to have a draw for people, but you can't let it go to one extreme or the other extreme. We have to protect it forever.
How's that balance? How are you feeling about the balance right now
between
the two?
I think we went through some growing pains here in the last few years, but I think as a community, no one got everything they wanted, whether it was the restaurants or the noise ordinance. Yeah, exactly. No one got everything they wanted, and I really think that that's how government functions. But at the end of the day, I think we reached good compromises, and we're still attracting and drawing people here.
So there's no doubt about that, and they will continue to come. Let's take it right down to construction. We're right down the block from the dispensary. There's 2 new buildings in the back. We're right down the block from Stock Farm, where they got the little cottages going up out front. Well, Stock Farm, as an example, 100% reclaimed lumber, and when those things go up, they will look like they've been here forever. How does that happen? As a town council member, do you participate in the process whereby these newcomers do honor, respect, and build in a way that's respectful of our history and I'll call it our architectural aesthetic?
Well, from a building perspective, the town has lots of zoning. Right now in the whole historic district, that makes up 4% of the 54 square miles.
Wow.
Yeah, people think it's larger, but it isn't. And it's heavily zoned. There's a lot of ordinance on the books. They call it the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance. And the architecture has to go before a historical preservation committee for review. They have certain guidelines they have to make and build by as far as the vernacular and everything here. So yeah, I mean, you can't just come in and build a metal building, in the middle of a historic district without meeting certain criteria.
But the people who are drawn here, by and large, want to make it work with what's already here.
But you still have to have zoning, and you still have to have laws, because what is it? One man's junk is another man's gold, treasure, gold. So everybody doesn't always play on the same page. The intentions may be good, but you have to have standards.
Yeah, we have to take a break. We have been speaking with Dan Wood. Dan is a town council member, Bluffton, South Carolina town council, newly elected. I'm Ed McCullough. This is Fresh Brewed. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Fresh Brewed. I'm Ed McCullough. Our guest is Dan Wood. Dan is a town council member, Bluffton, South Carolina, newly elected. Welcome back to the show, Dan.
Thank you, Ed.
So we were talking a little bit first segment about Old Town Bluffton, and then we got Bluffton as a whole. How does that break down geographically? And even though Old Town is a small geographic footprint, it's so important to the community as a whole.
Right. And my personal opinion is that this is the glue that binds the 54 square miles. The river is critically important to all of us because it's always been a river community, but everyone does not have access to the river. The great majority of citizens of Bluffton and the tourists have access to the historic district in Old Town. So this is where our tourism base is based, right here.
And do we not find that people who make a decision to move here ultimately, for instance, quite often are introduced to the community through Old Town, be it through the Arts and Seafood Festival? Was that the one you said you started, right?
Yes, sir.
Or the Bluffton Farmers Market, or whatever is going on in Old Town. That is what draws the tourists that then they convert and become homeowners and neighbors and members of the community.
Yes, that's correct. This is the impetus for them coming here.
And when we say community, can you, I know you're a member of town council and it's a little bit ethereal, but there really is something magical about the sense of community and the sense of identity in Old Town. Can you describe that
Well,
magic?
for me, I live right in the heart of it, and it's a walkable community. We're still a little eccentric. People that have been here for a while are passionate about the historic district. It's vibrant, it's youth-based. The Dubose Park, which is across the street from where I live, is full of families, full of activity.
You can never go by. You see kids on the swings, you see moms with the strollers. There's people in there all the time. They all walk there, or most of them did. They're all neighbors, they know one another, and there's that interplay that you emerge from with a sense of community.
I walked here for this interview.
Did you know?
Yes.
Let's circle back to the Jasper Port and consider the impact and the growth and the influx of new people moving to this area and juxtapose it with the preciousness of life in the community and sense of community in Old Town. And how are we going to get those to work together? How are we going to preserve the one in the face of the onslaught of the other?
Well, that's the challenge. That's the challenge that my term and people beyond my term that will come in the future, all the citizens here will be faced with trying to solve these problems, whether it's the roads or the impact to the river negatively in some way. You know, we're going to have more schools. You know, your police department's going to have to get larger. We're going to have houses and more houses. So, you know, all of this factors into the future, you know, and this is just purely just planning ahead to be sure that we have the infrastructure that we need to stay in place for this growth.
And when you mention the planning and the growth and the things, the steps that you have to take, you're talking about roads, that's state, that's Department of Transportation,
That's right.
And you're talking about interfacing with the county. So do you see, as your position on the council, critical to forge these relationships with these larger entities so that our needs do get effectively addressed?
Absolutely. You know, as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it's the same with government. You know, it's not just one entity unto itself. It's broad, it's across the county spectrum, it's across the state spectrum. It takes, you know, and again, it takes the citizens being involved. They need to come to the meetings, they need to come to the workshops, they need to get involved in organizations, whether through the town or nonprofit organizations. It's the input and the feedback of our citizens that dictate the direction that we as a community need to go.
So then do you, for instance, feel that you're in a more powerful position when you go to the county or the state when you know that you're representing on behalf of a proactive, involved citizenship?
Absolutely, absolutely. My job is to listen, and my job is to try to figure out what the largest number of people want me to do in the betterment of the community. Now, it doesn't mean that I should hurt a smaller group of people over here in any means. I just want to get all the facts and the feedback, but it takes engaged citizens in order to do that.
And are there formal channels? Do you guys have meetings with the state? Do you have meetings with the Department of Transportation? Do you have meetings with the county council? How does that interface take place?
Well, I'm a new councilman,
Okay.
but I'm already learning. There's lots of meetings, and there's lots of interaction, and there's lots of material to digest.
And when we say that, is it your sense, I know you've only been, what has it been now, 2 weeks? Come on, get it going, bro.
There you go.
Is it your sense with the county, with the state, and with the larger organizations that you have to interface with, that the relationships and the cooperation and getting a hearing, it's all there to be taken advantage of?
For the most part, but I mean, you know, you've lived here a long time. You know that the county has some times where everybody doesn't get on the same page. I mean, we're talking about even economic development. You know, everybody's not on the same page. We want it at the county level and the municipal level. We want them to be partners. That hasn't happened. But you know, these are things that will take care of themselves over time. But for the most part, everybody's on the same mission.
Well, and speaking of the same mission, it's important to define the mission, and it's important for the development of the mission to be inclusive. And I'm going to use as an example, what did they call it? All the charrettes in the process for Old Town, and that they emerged with, what was that called, a land plan?
It's the Old Town Master Plan.
Master
And
Plan.
it's actually the blueprint that has been still the model and still being used for the Old Town Historic District.
But give us a sense of the inclusiveness of that process in terms of input from the larger community, from the citizens, and does it not have more weight once it can go to market, if you will, saying that we included all these people?
The more people you engage, the better off you are as a community. That particular model was in 2005 and 6, had over 300 something residents. We were much smaller as a town then.
So we only got about a half minute left, but might there be some similar initiative in preparation for the impact of the port to plan for it and get everybody on the same page and get some input?
As a councilman, I hope that's what we do.
And I'm sure with your support, that's what's going to happen. Dan.
Thank you, Ed.
Really, congratulations.
Thank you
and
again.
It's great to have you on council, and it really is great with the community. Your history of community involvement and bringing that to the town council, it's just a gift for the community. Thank you. Stay tuned, more Fresh Brewed right after this. Hello, greetings, and welcome back to Fresh Brewed. I'm Ed McCullough. Our guest is Margie Backaus. Margie is the owner of the Bluffton Room, this wonderful restaurant in the heart of Old Town Bluffton. Margie, welcome.
Thank you very much. Lovely afternoon here.
I know, upstairs in the Promenade, above the corner perk, in the heart of Old Town, just like the restaurant. I can see it out the window.
It's true. Growing. I mean, Bluffton, this place is one of the newest places. I think it's a fantastic addition to the Promenade. So Josh has done a great job here. And
we're talking about Josh of the Corner Perk, and we're talking about the Roasting Room, which is the new music venue upstairs from the Corner Perk, in the heart of Old Town, at the Promenade, where the Bluffton Room is. For how long? How long has it been?
It has been about 18 months now. We opened August of 2014. And it's been a huge success. I have to say, everybody locally has been so supportive and so kind to us over even a short period of time. I mean, everybody says the restaurant business is a tough business, but I got to tell you, Bluffton welcomed us with open arms, and it's doing great.
It exploded from day one, and it really never stopped.
It's true.
And when you say embraced by the whole community, everybody goes there.
Yeah, it's been really interesting because to me, when the idea first started germinating in terms of putting a little bit more of an upscale place in Bluffton, it was interesting to me who exactly would show up, because we're obviously very close to Hilton Head. Yet, I think what we find about who our primary guests are is it's really not the tourists. I mean, we're very small, we're only 14 tables, but the people who really support us month after month after month are really the local people who are there. I have, a few people who are there 3-4 nights a week. So it's become very much of, a neighborhood kitchen. I mean, obviously it feels upscale, but what we tried to do with the Bluffton Room is make it very neighborhoody, but maybe
a place
feel like
where everybody knows your name.
Yes, we try and do that. And if anybody knows Bluffton Bob and Lisa, exactly.
Bob the bartender.
Yes, they're already bringing out your Worcester's Rockefeller before you sit down with your mayor.
They know what you want, and they know what you ordered the last time, and you know their name, and they know your name.
I know, it's really nice. I mean, when I go in there, to me, it feels like a big dinner party at my house. Except in this case, I have dishwashers, which are very nice to have in a dinner party.
You don't have to clean up your own mess.
I know. I get to just walk around, and it's great because I know almost 70-80% of the people there every night.
So, you ever hear the phrase in developing a business or a vision for a business, I was just scratching my own itch? Did you have... Let's not get too graphic about that, but did you have an itch of your own where here you are? I believe you live in Palmetto Bluff?
I do.
And so you're hanging out in Old Town, and did you, as Margie, just walking down the street say, man, I really wish I had a more wonderful, slightly more upscale, beautiful place to go eat in Old Town?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because people are like, how many restaurants have you had? None. This is my first.
Really?
Yes, but I've been, a food and wine enthusiast my whole life. So it makes it easy when you know what you think you want. So, I'm very much of my own kind of target guest, because you're right. I mean, when you come to Bluffton, obviously there's a lot of options here, food-wise, wine-wise, all of those great things. But for me, I think what was missing, especially, having come from Pimento Bluff, where there's some lovely venues there, and, it's nice to stay there, but people
got to get out.
Yeah, people got to get off campus. You just got to get out.
Got to get out of there.
Get out of there. So I really wanted to keep it small. But yeah, I mean, I think when you look at that menu and you look at the wine list, both of those things are a reflection of me.
What you would love to...
What I want to, yeah. What I want to have.
Right, yeah.
I do. So it's nice. Throughout traveling and all of those things, you get design ideas for, how the front of it works and how it all is open to the indoor-outdoor. And that came from a little tiny place in Barcelona. And then the booths came from a really nice place in San Francisco. So even though every single thing in that restaurant, I mean, that bar, those tables, lights, everything, all the art, everything was made in Bluffton, literally made in Bluffton. They all have kind of, the ideas from those all came from different places all over the world, which makes it nice, because I think people recognize that, but they love that all Bluffton artisans did everything.
So I'm just curious, what kind of business did you do before you did this restaurant, if this was your first restaurant?
I was actually in technology for 25 years, so...
So really no connection, reference whatsoever?
I had none.
You just took a leap of faith?
I did, but
Did it feel like a leap of faith? Or you felt pretty confident? You felt like you had a solid vision and it had legs and there was something there.
It's true, but a good part of the vision, which is also part of me, is not just having the restaurant and having a great place for people to come and meet each other and have a nice time, but it's also kind of giving back to the community. That was a big part of kind of my purpose in doing the restaurant to begin with.
So the restaurant itself has given back to the community.
Yep.
But then I also know you're doing something with like a buck on the bill or something, and that's going to some places, nonprofits or something like that.
Right. So we've had great relationships with Boys and Girls Club here, and the Bluffton. Bluffton Self-Help and Memorial Children's Hospital, all kinds of things. But what we wanted to do this year is we wanted to do more. We wanted to do it in some way that's not a donation to a gala or something that looks like that. We wanted to do it in a more consistent way.
Weave it into the fabric of everyday business,
Correct.
Not just make it like a one-time-a-year gala.
Right.
Well, if I could quote my friend Denise Spencer at the Community Foundation, an ongoing entrepreneurial generated source of support for nonprofits so that they don't have to go out into the neighborhood saying, please give us money, please give, because it's there.
Right, and they do such good work. I mean, these are, the people that run those businesses, and I'll call them businesses because at the end of the day they are.
Businesses.
Right, that's tough. So for us, we just want to make it an integrated part of who we are as, a business in Old Town, but hope to provide some leadership. I would like to see a lot of, right, I would like to see a lot of restaurants do, okay, great. Please join me. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to add $1 a check onto everybody's checks for the rest of the year. I mean, obviously the people that join our restaurant are the types of people that are most happy doing that. And so I'm excited about it. So we'll choose 4 charities this year, and we'll have a regular, instead of the Bluffton Room, it'll probably be the Giving Room this year. And I'm excited about it because I think, here in Bluffton it's really interesting because all the restaurants and all of the hospitality people are really supportive of each other. We know each other, we're really supportive of each other.
All boats rise on the same tide.
That's how I mean, everybody's like, oh, there's a bunch of new places opening in Old Town. I'm like, yes. That is the point, right? Because the more people we bring down to this area, the better
it is for
the better
everybody.
We are, and the more we can correct.
Thank you for bringing the Bluffton Room to this area, and thank you for coming over. Believe it was like 2 minutes, but we're out of time. We're in a time warp.
It was so great.
Thank you
so much. I appreciate it.
We have been speaking with Margie Backaus. Margie is the owner of the Bluffton Room right here in Old Town Bluffton. I'm Ed McCullough. This is Fresh Brewed. Thanks for being with us.